Okay, I'm speaking to Tom and Rob from the Robot Heart. Congratulations on the release of your new EP, Dust. Not only is it your debut, but it is also the debut release for the record company. Can you tell me how the marriage between the Robot Heart and Bleeding Heart Recordings came about?
Yeah, well, basically we did our first gig in Brighton for a night called the Bleeding Heart Club, which is Chris, who's running the label. He basically put on a load of the kind of, I guess they're more folk-based, acoustic-based artists in Brighton, and when we just finished our album, which we'd recorded, he was one of the first people because he was supporting us from day one. So, and he'd been looking to start his label, but he wanted what he said, something that was recorded well, because a lot of people had sort of rough demos and stuff from that whole scene, but he wanted something that was well produced, and I think we kind of fitted the bill. But he's a really good mate now as well, and he just got sort of funding and backing from a company called wohomusic, which look after a lot of really good bands, so he was just waiting for the right thing, so he says.
Excellent.
I think, like Tom said as well, that it was sort of, it was a kind of it's the fruits of a long relationship with Chris and us. He's put us on a number of times and supported us for quite a long time through the nights and the things he's done in Brighton. So where we are now is a really exciting point for us to be working with him. Yeah.
Fantastic.
He's a very well dressed man as well.
Is he?
It's good to have him around.
Very dashing chap.
Your sound has been likened to the Fleet Foxes and even described as Icelandic Beach Boys. How do you feel about these comparisons, and who in fact are your musical influences?
We kind of were quite keen to keep that Icelandic Beach Boys quote, because that was a local magazine called XYZ magazine that said it originally, and we're all fans of the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds and the like, and when we first started the thing, it was me, Rob and Astra, the female vocalist. It was kind of a bit more of a folky setup before we've added all the bells and the whistles and the drums and bleeps and all the stuff. So I guess it was lovely that someone had called us an Icelandic sounding Beach Boys, because people like Björk and Sigur Rós, amazing artists, and it just seemed like quite an odd little mixture, because they're very kind of juxtaposed, so that was lovely.
And they're all bands that all of us really love as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's quite nice. A lot of the references that people have picked up on have actually been stuff that we're really into. I mean, it's maybe not that surprising, but
yeah, I mean, when there's four of us singing a lot, so I think it's quite nice that there seems to be a bit of a harmony drenched scene going on at the moment, and we just happened to be doing it. It wasn't really so much current bands that made us do it, as kind of Crosby, Stills and Nash was in there a little bit, and obviously the things like the Beatles obviously harmonise really nicely, but it just seemed to work with the three voices, so it's a happy coincidence that people mention the Fleet Foxes.
Excellent. What is your most important aspect of your musical career, and why? I.e., is it playing live, studio recording, fans, or staying true to yourselves?
That's a good question. I think for
what
us,
do you like best?
I think for us, playing live and recording, we've worked quite hard to get the two as close as possible. When we recorded the album with Rick Simpson, he came to see us a few times and really loved it, and we really tried to capture that live sound. So we didn't take it apart and record things individually, although there was a little bit of that involved. So I think those two aspects are pretty high up there.
But I think personally, now that we've recording the stuff was really good fun. Just to finally get this thing that we've been working on for a couple of years captured by this utter dude, basically. He's just a wonderful bloke who'd worked with, The Cure and people like that. When he came down and hung out with us, he said, let's just capture the live thing and record it like that. So, but now the live thing on a good night, I think I enjoy more than the recording side, because it feels like, I don't know, it just feels really enjoyable.
But then saying that, I think some of the recordings we've done have given us the opportunity to sort of redo songs or do songs in different ways. So there's been sort of nice surprises with certain tracks that we've gone back to and we've recorded in a very sort of lo-fi way that have actually worked or been more successful in that kind of situation than in others before. So it's been a nice opportunity for us to sort of to take tracks apart and put them back together in a different way.
Rebuild the droid.
Yeah. In today's world of manufactured music and processed talent shows, how difficult is it for real musicians to get noticed?
That's a good question. I think when we first started doing this, it was 4 years ago really, that Robot Heart was sort of born. There was still such a thing as this kind of golden record deal that indie bands or left field bands were getting, and it's suddenly kind of like winning the lottery. You go from signing on to suddenly getting all this money and new shoes and touring and all the rest of it. And I think one of the side effects of the music industry sort of exploding or imploding has been this kind of manufactured, nasty plastic thing that seems pretty soulless. So I think bands, left field bands or proper bands that write their own material and stuff like that, it is harder, but it's making the live scene and the bands who've got a bit of something to them, they're still equaling the success of those other bands, but you're having to do the rounds quite a lot of it, do a lot of touring and build up from a real roots thing, because you can't expect this sudden lottery win, for a band.
To some extent, I think it's actually easier to identify what's good music as well, because the gap is bigger. It's kind of, we've done it for ages and we'll carry on doing it, but I think, and it's difficult and, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of time, but at the same time it's easier to pinpoint good music.
Yeah, and the really bad music. Seems to be around every corner.
What gig so far has been the best and why?
You pick one.
That's again a difficult one. I think...
Favourite gig, Bob?
Okay, just completely off the top of my head, I think possibly one of the first nights we actually put on was when we played with Ben Ottawell from Gomez, and it was the first solo gig he had done, and it sold out, loads of people came, and it was absolutely brilliant. And for me, and I know for others in the band, that Gomez are kind of quite good mates, and growing up I loved their albums. It was amazing to have Ben play for us, and doing the first solo gig was kind of quite special.
That's Bob's favourite. However, no, we did the album launch gig in a little ballroom about a month ago. It was a bit premature because the stock hadn't got to the record company yet, but we still put it on, did it, and it was in this beautiful ballroom space called the Hanbury Ballroom, which has just changed its name actually in the last couple of weeks. But and it kind of filled out, and it was kind of for us. And we had the bloke Sam Genders from Tongue, who's a band we really like as well, and he supported us and came and played a little acoustic set, and it was totally euphoric actually, and that was the most I've enjoyed playing, because there was friends and family, but then there was people who really sort of supported us from our grisly little folk snarling little spoke gigs in front of two people. They were there in this room full of this little ballroom, and I think there's been a few gigs leading up to that where I think it just feels a bit more enjoyable now that we kind of know what we're doing, I think.
And which has been the worst?
Oh, there's a bit.
They've been blocked.
I know the worst gig. The most excruciating
I know which
gig.
one you're going to say.
Supporting athlete, funnily enough. Lovely boys. Lovely boys. But we supported them about 2 years ago, and this was just before we'd kind of really worked out what we were, and they kind of did it as a favour, and they liked a demo thing that I got to them. But we still weren't sure what the sounds would be, and it was like I was playing electric guitar. There was a lot of technical problems, wasn't there? I think one of the things was the pedal stopped working. Astra's synth, that her main instrument, wasn't quite working. We didn't really get a sound check, and this room filled up with like 1,500 people, and we hadn't really played in front of any more than 50, maximum before. And I just remember playing halfway through the first song, just thinking, I don't even like this music we're making, so I can't expect 1,500 humans. And also, I don't think they're necessarily the same genre as us, even though they're kind of a bit an alternative rock band. I think obviously Fleet Foxes' support would be a bit more appropriate than someone who's. I mean, people have compared them to Coldplay and the like, and I think that's fair. I don't think we're really in that same food group.
Okay. if there was a chance to go back to when you just started out as a band, is there anything that you would change?
That's a good question as well. Is there anything we changed from starting out?
Yeah.
It's weird because it's all sort of starting to make a bit more sense now. It's taken us a while to get it to the point that we're all happy.
But I think that kind of that journey or that process has been really useful for us. So I wouldn't necessarily change anything that we had done. I think it's kind of naturally taken as long as it's taken for us to get here.
If this was like, if we hadn't just got a record out that we're really proud of and all that, it might feel like, God, it's 3.5 years and we haven't had a high five off anyone. What the hell's going on? So some of it, you know. But I think it was sort of, I mean, maybe we're being insanely optimistic here. We'll probably walk away from the interview and think, oh my God, yeah, we all wore white for a while. That seems to be like a thing, but I'm still kind of weirdly proud of that. It was quite an eccentric thing to do. But in retrospect, it did look a bit like a religious cult or something.
Yeah. What was the singularly best bit of advice you were given that you could pass on to new bands or singers?
Can I do this one? I know I've been waffling on a lot, but I had some advice from Jason Pierce from Spiritualized.
Right.
He's like one of my personal. I know the band all like him as well, but Spiritualized are an amazing band. And I just watched them play a gig in Camden and ended up backstage because somehow we blagged some backstage things, as you do. And I was walking around with a bag of like dirty laundry on my back for some reason, but it was like a really kind of schmoozy background. There was lots of famous actors and people all wanting to get close to Jason Pierce, but I just thought, this is weird. I didn't have enough money to even buy myself a drink, I don't think, at the time. And I was like, I'm getting out, and I left out of the sort of backstage area, went out the fire escape, and on the way down there was Jason Pierce, and he was hiding from all these people who had come and see the gig, and he was drinking a bottle of wine, and I shared some of this wine with him, and he was really cool, and I was like struggling with what the hell the music should be that I do, and he was just like, you just don't listen to anyone but yourself, don't listen to the management, don't listen to the label, just do exactly what your heart says, and that's exactly right. And I was just like, so I'm cursing. That's like the perfect advice. And then as I was walking away, he shouted after me, and lose the bag, because I don't think it was making me look very cool. I was walking around like a kind of tramp, but it was quite funny. Yeah, that was good.
What is your hope for the Robot Heart over the next few years?
Well, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we?
We were talking about this earlier. I think we are really wanting to get the album out for our sort of debut album, because we've obviously got the mini albums out at the moment. So that's our kind of the immediate future for us, and how we're going to do that, and what we want from it and for it to do. It's kind of preoccupying us at the moment.
Well, one thing that'd be really good is to do as many festivals as we can. I think that's it,
because we missed the festivals really this year.
Haven't quite got it sorted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I think that's a big thing for us next year.
And we've had an offer to release the album properly, and we're just sort of evaluating that at the moment. Get the mini album. It's an EP really. We've got a mini album. It's a glorified EP. That's out, and then get the main album out hopefully in February, and that will be set up to do the festivals. And I mean, it's just, I think, like we were saying, it's difficult to know. It's dangerous to have too many expectations, but if we can just be exist as a band, and hopefully keep doing it and play to some bigger audiences, support some good bands, and just do it, then that's hopefully what we've all been building this thing to.
Fantastic. And finally, can you describe the Robot Heart in 5 words?
5 words. Describe the band in 5 words.
Rob, Tom, Astra, Dan and Steve. Does that sound good?
Very good.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Got out that one.
Thank you for your time, and best wishes and good luck for the future.
Thank you.